and there are other steps we're taking to rein in deficits. I've proposed a fee on big banks to pay back taxpayers for the bailout. We're reforming the way contracts are awarded, to save taxpayers billions of dollars. And while we extend middle-class tax cuts in this budget, we will not continue costly tax cuts for oil companies. Investment fund managers, and those making over $250,000 a year. We just can't afford it. Finally, changing spending as usual depends on changing politics as usual. And that's why I proposed a bipartisan fiscal commission. A panel of Democrats and Republicans who would hammer out concrete deficit reduction proposals over the medium and long term. But would come up with those answers by a certain deadline. I should point out, by the way, that is an idea that had strong bipartisan support. Was originally introduced by Senators Gregg on the Republican side and Conrad on the Democratic side. Had a lot of Republican co-sponsors to the idea. I hope that, despite the fact that it got voted down in the Senate, that both the Republican leader Mitch McConnell and the Republican leader in the House John Boehner go ahead. And fully embrace what has been a bipartisan idea to get our arms around this budget. That's also why we're restoring pay-as-you-go. A simple rule that says Congress can't spend a dime without cutting a dime elsewhere. This rule helped lead to the budget surpluses of the 1990s. And it's one of the most important steps we can take to restore fiscal discipline in Washington. You can read more about the budget at budget. Gov very easy to remember. Budget. Gov. But the bottom line is this: we simply cannot continue to spend as if deficits don't have. Consequences. As if waste doesn't matter. As if the hard-earned tax dollars of the American people can be treated like monopoly money. As if we can ignore this challenge for another generation. We can't. In order to meet this challenge, I welcome any idea from Democrats and Republicans. What I will not welcome, what I reject, is the same old grandstanding when the cameras are on. And the same irresponsible budget policies when the cameras are off. It's time to hold Washington to the same standards families and businesses hold themselves. It's time to save what we can, spend what we must, and live within our means once again. Thanks very much. Barack Obama and William J. Clinton. Press conference on tax cuts. Delivered December 10, 2010. President Obama, I thought it was a slow day, so I've Question, slow news day, huh? President Obama, bring the other guy in. Obviously, there's a big debate going on about taxes, and about the need to grow the economy and to create jobs. And just about every day this week, I've been making an argument as to why the agreement that We've struck to provide billions of dollars in payroll tax cuts that can immediately help rejuvenate the economy. As well as tax cuts for middle-class families. Unemployment insurance for folks who desperately need it, credits for college, child tax credits. As well as a range of business investments credits are so important to make sure that we keep this recovery moving. I just had a terrific meeting with the former president, President Bill Clinton. And we just happened to have this as a topic of conversation. And I thought, given the fact that he presided over as good an economy as we've seen in our lifetimes. That it might be useful for him to share some of his thoughts. I'm going to let him speak very briefly. And then I've actually got to go over and do just one more Christmas party. So he may decide he wants to take some questions. But I want to make sure that you guys hear it from him directly. Former President Clinton, thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, I feel awkward being here, and now you're going to leave me all by myself. Let me. Just say a couple of things. First of all, I still spend about an hour a day trying to study this economy. And I'm not running for anything, and I don't have a political agenda. I try to figure out what to do. I have reviewed this agreement that the president reached with Republican leaders. And I want to make full disclosure, I make quite a bit of money now. So the position that the Republicans have urged will personally benefit me. and on its own, I wouldn't support it because I don't think that my tax cut is the most economically efficient way to get the economy going again. But I don't want to be in the dark about the fact that I will receive the continuation of the tax rates. However, the agreement taken as a whole is, I believe, the best bipartisan agreement we can reach to help the largest number of Americans. And to maximize the chances that the economic recovery will accelerate and create more jobs. And to minimize the chances that it will slip back, which is what has happened in other financial collapses. That's what Japan faced, and it's something that we have to avoid in America. Why do I say that? First of all, because clearly the extension of unemployment, which gives people a percentage of the income they were previously making. Well, that money will be spent and it will bolster the economy for the next couple of years. Secondly, the conversion of the Make Work Pay tax credit, which the president passed before. Which goes to 95% of the American people, converting that into an $120 billion one-year payroll tax relief act is. According to all the economic analyses, the single most effective tax cut you can do to support economic activity. This will actually create a fair number of jobs. I expect it to lower the unemployment rate and keep us going. Thirdly, and one thing I haven't seen much about in the reports, this agreement will really help America over the long term. Because it continues the credits for manufacturing jobs related to energy coming into America. and I'll remind you, just in the last 2 years, there have been 30 high-powered battery factories either. Opened or presently being built in America, taking us from 2 to 20% of the world's share of that. And we're going to probably be at 40% by 2014. This is a really important thing. Bringing manufacturing back to America, because it's a huge multiplier to create new jobs. So in my opinion, this is a good bill. And I hope that my fellow Democrats will support it. I thank the Republican leaders for agreeing to include things that were important to the president. There is never a perfect bipartisan bill in the eyes of a partisan. And we all see this differently. But I really believe this will be a significant net plus for the country. I also think that in general a lot of people are heaving a sigh. Of relief that there's finally been some agreement on something. But don't minimize the impact of the unemployment relief for working families, of the payroll tax relief. And of the continuation of the incentives to grow jobs, which will trigger more credit coming out of the banks. Keep in mind, ultimately the long-term answer here is to get the $2 trillion. Which banks now have in cash reserves uncommitted to loans, out there in the economy again. The $1.8 trillion in corporate treasuries not now being invested out there in the economy again. I think this is a net plus. And you know how I feel. I think the people that benefit most should pay most. That's always been my position, not for class warfare reasons. for reasons of fairness in rebuilding the middle class in America. But we have the distribution of authority we have now in the Congress and what we're going to have in January. And I think this is a much better agreement than would be reached were we to wait until January. And I think it will have a much more positive impact on the economy. So for whatever it's worth, that's what I think. President Obama, that's worth a lot. Former President Clinton, I would like to say one other thing on another subject. Just to be recorded on the record. They don't need my support on this. Because we have some good Republican support, including the first President Bush. I think this START agreement is very important to the future of our national security. And it is not a radical agreement. Boris Yeltsin and I agreed in principle on this same reduction. And there was no way in the wide world he could get it through the Russian Duma that existed at the time in his second term. So we didn't proceed because it couldn't be ratified there. I'm not sure the Senate would have ratified it then, but I think they will not with enough encouragement. But the cooperation that we will get from the Russians. And the signal that will be sent to the world on non-proliferation. When all these other things are going on which threaten to increase nuclear proliferation, is very important. One of the things you know is that when people fool with these weapons, they're expensive to build. Expensive to maintain, and expensive to secure the material that goes into making the weapons.